part of me curing my shopping addiction because it is kind of an addiction.
It is an addiction. And that's one of the reasons why I threw it out here as a legitimate fear.
Yeah.
Because you step back from this once you practice sustainable fashion like we have and join the slow fashion movement, you realize, oh no, it's an addiction and I'm having the shakes.
Yeah. No, but you actually have to go back, like you were talking about, and sit with it and think of why you're shopping. The Intentional Wardrobe Movement, TIWM, stands for
T, take back your style.
I, intentionally shop.
W, wear it, work it, or wave goodbye.
And M, matter.
And you can check out more details in our description. All right, hi, I'm Brandy.
Hi, I'm Sam.
And we are the Intentional Wardrobe Movement. Today we're going to talk about overwhelmed, how to conquer your sustainable style fear. So today on the Intentional Wardrobe Movement, we're going to discuss what events led us to joining the slow fashion movement and share some of our fears before we dove in. Then we will give you some ideas about how to conquer your own fears so that you can feel confident beginning your sustainable style journey. Okay, let's talk a little bit. Do you want to share with everyone, what events or event created this interest in making choices that are more sustainable?
Sure. Well, funny enough, my venture into sustainability isn't that glamorous. I had actually started shopping vintage because I liked certain designers, and at the time vintage was not cool, and so I scored some pretty amazing deals on Chanel bags, and that's how I got into vintage, like Chanel jewelry. And so that's how I got into like vintage and sustainable shopping. That's how I first dove in.
You heard it here. Chanel. We have Chanel to thank for Sam's amazing sustainability and her love of vintage. So that's really great.
Yes. Well, you know what? Actually, it started because when we were younger, we shopped at garage sales. Like, we didn't have a big budget, and so we shopped at garage sales. So from a young age, I kind of felt like that was how you did it. And I didn't really know about anything different. I'm curious to know about your story.
To hear my story? Well, the first time I shopped vintage was when I was doing my junior abroad in college. I'm a Vassar girl. And when I was in Santiago, Chile, it was super cool and hip and fun. Obviously, I was a college student. I was an undergrad, didn't have a lot of money. And South America just seemed to have all the cool stuff, you guys. I still have a red coat. I will have to bring it one of these. I will wear the red coat when we do this around coat season.
I cannot wait to see.
I don't know if I can still fit in it, but I started with this one no name brand red pea coat. Just amazing because of the color. So I had not introduced a lot of color into my wardrobe. And so I was 19 at the time. And then fast forward to graduate school when I was also living without any money and going vintage shopping in London, as we all know, is amazing because I went to the London School of Economics for my master's. And I scored some really incredible pieces, like unique pieces. Again, a green coat that pops into mind. I really love to shop coats for vintage and resale. That's one of my favorite things. Yes. And then really it got to the point when I became a mom, I started thinking about recirculation. And I think there was just something in my mind that said, I have now created this life. I'm now passing sort of everything on, and I want to make more sustainable choices to make sure that my kids or kid is going to be able to live in an amazing earth and not just live in basically a landfill.
No, that's amazing. I mean, that's really good. That motherhood is what got me to clean beauty.
Yeah. It's amazing how I also found that journey of like, wait, nail polish has formaldehyde in it. I'm with you on that. I think I just looked at the world through a different lens.
Yeah.
And then it was the fact that I really just starting my journey at the Real as well. I had found some handbags that I hadn't used because my lifestyle changed, everyone. I was living no longer in Manhattan, no longer in LA or London. I was living in Fort Worth, Texas. And I was a mom of two. And so I had the original red Fendi baguette.
Oh
And
my
yeah,
gosh.
and I couldn't get rid of that just yet.
Oh yeah,
But
I was
I
like, well,
did.
I hope you
No,
did it.
no, I did eventually, and I could just kick myself for that. But we all have those things that we're like, why? It is now Sex and the City reboot is back. But it really was where I thought, you know what? I can't use these small bags anymore. I need a diaper bag, which was Gucci, by the way. Thank you, Gucci. Love you. So then I had a smaller Gucci bag, and I said, you know what? It's time for me to recirculate. And I had heard about this startup from San Francisco called The Real Real. And that's how it all began, my recirculation.
I feel like that cemented your sustainable.
It did.
Like, it really did.
It did. It was when
like
I realized, hey, this is something I want to give back to the world. And, the Real Real always says, oh, we're democratizing fashion. You're giving access to folks who, especially in today's day and age, may not be able to just pay all the money that it costs now to get a Gucci or get a Chanel. And so there's just this whole, I want to share these beautiful things with others. And that was really how I got into recirculation. And that was when I became addicted to that. So I think the vintage love, and how incredibly unique your pieces can be.
I mean, they're amazing. It doesn't have to be designer or name brand, but like you said, the red jacket, like I have so many amazing vintage pieces, and a lot of them were given to me by my grandmother-in-law, and they're just so unique and
so special. And that's what I talk to my clients about when we are on our personal styling journey, trying to figure out what is style, how do we generate it, how do we create it, where do we come up with these ideas? I say vintage is a great place to start.
It is a great place,
because when you can walk into a luxury, and you do not have to go to Goodwill and thrift. I tell people it doesn't have to be like that. It can, and you can find some amazing things. But if you want to just pare it down, go to maybe a luxury resale store. We have some great ones actually in Dallas. Vintage Martini is one that I really I love to go there.
They just reopened.
New look. Is it a new? Anyway, yes, Vintage Martini. Check them out. But I think that helps you identify your style as well. Anyway, so what were some of your fears before you started to delve into sustainable fashion?
So honestly, I think because we shopped at garage sales, I didn't really know of any fears. However, I have talked to many women who have shared their fears. And some of it is like, number one, the sanitary condition of these used items, because they are used. And then technically, like, if it's used and it's from someone who's passed, like, what does that mean? And then also, for example, if you are buying luxury from a consignment shop, like, is it authentic? How is it being authenticated? And I know you can speak to really a lot of that too.
Yes. And the answer to that on the how are things authenticated, you have to be very, very careful with this, guys. Coming from a luxury resale background, spending so many years at The Real Real, you really need to make sure that you are buying from companies that are either utilizing AI or have on staff authenticators. So that is a real fear. And many a time have I come across folks who have purchased it off eBay and spent $5,000 for a Chanel handbag off of eBay. This was no $2 purchase. But when you're doing peer-to-peer buying, authentication is very suspect.
I know. And that's what I was going to ask, because like at one point, I know eBay had authenticated, like they had authenticated eBay, and it was specifically for like designer things. And so I don't know how that worked.
So most of these companies that are, for example, The Real Real employs authenticators that sit on site. And actually, and I don't know if this is still the case, but a year ago, the statistic was The Real Real employs the most GIA certified gemologists in the luxury resale market. But there are certainly other companies like Second Street, they utilize AI software. And it can be really great. Oftentimes, and I've had this as well, I do provide recirculation services for some of my clients when I have gone to Second Street, for example. And if there is an issue, maybe with, I'm going to give you a specific example, somebody had purchased a Chanel bag in a consignment shop, was unclear as to whether or not it was authenticated. I took it to Second Street. They said, ooh, you know what? That certification number on the bag, via our AI software, we're just not able to certify it. Doesn't mean it's not authentic. It just means we're not able to accept it. So oftentimes, these companies that are using software, they will be able to say, ooh, you know what? I just don't have enough information, and they won't take the product. So that's good for you as a buyer to know that these things really happen. I went to Close Mentor the other day and was doing some consignments, and they actually said that they also use AI. So there are curious. For sure. Yeah. So because I know I walked in and I was like, wait, they asked me the question, are these luxury items? Are they not? And I said, no, because just, in general, I'm using other avenues for luxury, but I did specifically ask, oh, you know what? That's great to know that you do take these items so that I can share this information with the world. And again, they're using AI software. So oftentimes, if the folks are saying, I'm going to, for example, rebag, they use that AI software before you send it in. So they actually utilize the pictures of the items. And then they say, then once you send it in, they will physically authenticate it. So I would say if you are a little nervous about authentication, stay away from peer-to-peer sites. Do not buy off of Facebook. Do not buy off of, eBay if it's unauthenticated, or even the Vestiaire Collective. Or Depop. Depop. Oh, guys, Depop does not authenticate. So just be careful with that. If this is a concern for you, as I really think it's a legitimate fear.
Sure, because you're spending hundreds or thousands of dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. Then just make sure that whoever you're buying from, you are able to say, and there's nothing wrong if you can't get the information that you need from the website, pick up a telephone and call. I know nowadays we don't make a lot of phone calls, but it is worth the time and the effort to just make sure that you're buying from a reputable source that does authenticate. For sure. And then, that is interesting. I did not put that down under my fear about the cleanliness aspect. Okay. That's a good legitimate fear as well. And I think we always say we're going to talk about the taboo. I think when I was 19 and I was digging through the thrift store dump bins in South America, I wasn't as concerned about this as I am in my older years. And I feel the pain, and I don't thrift I don't do the dump bin thrifting anymore.
Well, I don't do dump bin thrifting, but even if I get something thrifted, I usually will try to wash it. And the good thing is so depending on what you're looking at, like polyester is basically indestructible. So if it's polyester, you can't just wash it, but you actually have to be careful, just depending on what kind of material it's made out of. And so you could leave it out in the sun. There's different ways, but
there are different ways.
Clean it.
This is part of the reason why I'm going to admit this to you all first. You too, Sam. I have never purchased earrings from resale.
Oh my God.
Because I am so stressed out about the germ factor. So I am still scared about the earrings. So tell me, how do you get over that fear?
I guess I can understand that. So most of the time when I'm buying vintage earrings, they are clip-ons. So to me, like, that's a surface that you can totally clean. I guess with pierced earrings too, I did buy a pair of vintage that were pierced. I do just clean them. Like, I clean them with like alcohol wipes and like, so
it's funny that you say you use alcohol wipes, because I really wanted this one. It always starts with an obsession that I have in my real card. I really wanted this one pair of earrings, and I was like, maybe I can just get over my fear. I can make the purchase. So I started saying, like, how do you clean earrings when you purchase them? Well, guess what, folks? If you're concerned about the cleanliness of your earrings in resale, you should also be concerned about the cleanliness of your earrings in retail.
Oh, yeah.
Because people try them
Yeah.
on and don't buy them, and they go in and out of those ears. So I'm a germaphobe. For all of you who are resident germaphobes along with me, welcome. I really, now it is a practice to make sure that I am sanitizing anything. I still haven't gotten over that fear to purchase the earrings, the pierced earrings
Yeah, I
in
understand.
resale,
I
but
mean,
I'm excited to hear that that is your solution to that.
yeah, I mean, but I do understand, especially if you are a person like for me, I have multiple holes. I use my first holes all the time. My second holes, sometimes I'm re-piercing my own ear. I hate to admit that, but I am like second or third holes. Sometimes I'm re-piercing them myself. So I can understand your true concern with like hygiene.
Hygiene concerns. Such a good, and so weird that as a germaphobe, I did not consider this, but I am glad that we're discussing that
Yeah.
because, and I will get back to you on whether or not I'm able to get over that phobia. But here's what I do have to say. If cleanliness is a concern, I know that it's not super sustainable to dry clean, and we should all be aspiring to minimize that. But I think in the case of the resale market, it's okay. You can
Yeah.
find a, environmentally friendly dry
Right.
cleaners, and just in this instance, I think it's okay to just make that decision that you're going to dry clean as
Yeah.
well.
I'm like, I feel like steam clean the hell
Mhm.
out of this item.
Yeah, I do too.
I
I
mean,
love to sit it in the sun.
yes.
That's one of the reasons I don't buy hats and I don't buy
Yeah.
used shoes. And I'm going to tell you, I'm such a germaphobe that I have my own bowling shoes because who's been, and I don't bowl. It is not like, oh, bowling is my thing. No, no. I go once in a blue moon. I have children. If maybe once every 6 months. So that's twice a year. But I have purchased bowling
You know
shoes
what?
because I'm not a fan of like the
That
spray
spray,
spray.
yes.
So for me, I have a line. I don't do the pierced ears in the resale, and I don't do the shoes, the
I
used
I
shoes.
think it's okay to have a line. And that's the thing. If you know what you're comfortable with, that's better than buying something and then just never wearing it.
which is
Right?
which is exactly what we're all trying to ward
Yes.
against. Yeah. Okay. So,
I
I mean, I have plenty of fears.
yeah, I know there's one thing that I found that I thought was interesting is like greenwashing. Like what if you're trying to be sustainable and you buy it from a brand, but then you find out later they're greenwashing. And I feel like this is such a hard concern because you don't I mean, people can put anything on the internet, really.
I am 1,000% with that, and that was one of my fears. I approached it a little bit different than just wholly greenwashing, but I think that greenwashing falls within the subset of this. And I said, it's just sort of overload in terms of data for all of us just
Yes.
all the time. And so my question was a bit more general, which was how do I find brands that align with my sustainable
Mm-hmm.
goals? It's time consuming. It's not always real. It's fake news, right? So, what are my options to make sure that I can be finding the right brands? And so I had a couple of ideas. One of them was, find reputable sources. I know you are a Good on You fan because I have seen it. I know we all have. Sam loves it. And I use it too. It's important. So, just in general, that's an example of
Yes.
that. But there are searchable databases of sustainable brands that you can go to really understand how they rate. For example, with Good on You, it's
Yeah,
Animals, Planet,
people.
and People. With Good on You, it's Animals, Planet, and People. And they also have a blog portion, so that's really great. Something as general as sustainable plus size or sustainable jeans or sustainable boots. That's always great because you don't even have to search the name of the brand. You just go on, click on the blog, and you're like, there it is, sustainable jeans. Bop, 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 bop. I can find out of 5 sustainable jean brands, I can find one of them that I will want to, buy from. So, reputable sources with searchable databases. That's one. The other one would be check individual brand websites. You have to ward off the greenwashing with that.
It's hard to know. I mean, I feel like you have to kind of do a deep dive on the website. It's kind of like it's on you.
It is on you, because not only do you have to see what they say on the website, then you have to go and search on the internet to be like, was that real? So that's a little bit harder.
That is a little harder, I feel like.
Some brands, though, they do put it front and center. But for example, with Tom Ford, it's really obvious. It's like oceans. I mean, if oceans are your thing, then Tom Ford is your brand, right? But there was nothing else, by the way, because I was really like, oh, I love Tom Ford. Y'all, Gucci, Tom Ford. Tom Ford was our Gucci back in the day.
Yes.
So to me, I really, but I love the ocean. So for me, I love the Tom Ford. But that's it. That's all they're committing to. So if that doesn't fall within your ideals of, maybe that's a little greenwashing to you. Maybe that only oceans, so maybe that's not good enough for you. So I would say that.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, well, like you're so good about being really sustainable and everything. I would say I'm about 80% sustainable, like truly. Like, I mean, I'm not going to, that's how it is for me. I'm about like 80%. Like I do my best when I make options, but I'm about 80%. I try to choose sustainable brands and ethical brands and everything, but sometimes I just need certain things and there may not be sustainable.
And sometimes if you do need certain things, that's why shopping with intent is good.
Yes.
And you can't always find it in resale. So I get that. But yeah, I have a more narrow view of what's sustainable.
Yes.
And so for me, we differ on this. Yes. And it's okay. You can have that too. That's why I use Tom Ford as a great example.
Yes.
If that's not good enough for you, then that's it. That's your bar. You're not shopping Tom Ford. You move on. You just let it go. Okay. So a couple of other ideas in terms of how do you filter through the greenwashing, or how do you deal with the influx of information to really find the brands that align with your sustainable goals. I actually say shop companies that label sustainable finds. And I think back to when my son was first diagnosed with a wheat allergy. And I solely went to Sprouts. It was the only place that I could go to that every time I walked down an aisle, it's clearly labeled gluten-free. And so for me, it saved time when I was going to the grocery store, because I knew my son had an allergy to wheat and I had to shop gluten-free. I say this is a great option for you if you need to filter down and pare down what is available to you. Net-a-Porter is a great example. Net-Sustain.
I was going to list that. Yes.
They're a great brand where you can even click through on their menu and it specifically states. Yeah. If you don't even want to see things, because sometimes not seeing the things that you can't buy or you're not going to buy or don't align with your sustainable goals helps filter out the noise.
Yeah. I mean, and they're the same. They're about lower impact materials, responsible craftsmanship, or design for circularity. Right. So they are that's what they're.
Yeah, it is really helpful. And I honestly, being a first-time allergy shopper, I needed some help with that. I want to give you that as a bit of a gift, because that helped me be able to really focus on what mattered to my family, that I had to shop gluten-free. So if you can find brands like that can already pre-filter for you, that's amazing.
Yes, I love, because that's what I do for clean beauty, because I have so many skin allergies. So at Sephora and a lot of now other retailers, they have like clean beauty brands, and they filter it for you so you can search.
Yeah. So it is approachable.
Yes.
So you don't have to fear that, because that right there, if you go directly to retailers that are doing it for you, then it helps you out. And then my last one is a very important one. How do you get over this fear? Work with a sustainable personal stylist.
Yes.
That is a great way for you if you're busy, if you just don't have the bandwidth. A personal stylist who focuses on sustainability, or even just your personal stylist, you can say, hey, listen, this is what matters to me.
Right.
Their whole job is to focus on creating the best you. And so if this is something that you need in your next seasonal wardrobe, then that is something that you're always welcome to communicate, and they'll be able to help you out with
Yes.
that.
Yes, for sure. And if they're not able to, then they can point you in the right direction as to who can.
Absolutely. Okay. I have a couple of other things.
Yes.
One of my first questions after I had my first child, and I spent a lot of time in that rocking chair thinking about a lot of things, was that sustainable fashion was such a broad term. And so
Yes.
my fear was, what does it mean? How do I define it? And I went through a process that really helped me. Do you have, and I'm happy to share that, but I wanted to hear from you, how did you come up with your own definition and create your own style goals for sustainability?
So I guess regarding sustainability, there's lots of different definitions, but I guess if you look at like maybe what's considered a true definition, it starts like from the beginning of the manufacturing process of a piece of clothing, like all the way to like how, if you're wearing something that's wool, how the sheep is grown, like all these pieces, like every single part of this piece of clothing is sustainably manufactured. I guess for me personally, like I told you, I kind of follow the 80% rule. I try to buy, for the most part, I always try to buy ethical and sustainable brands. However, sometimes if they're not, it's something that I plan on keeping long term. Like, so it's not like I don't really do fast fashion anymore. I have done it before. I'm not going to say like I haven't, but I don't anymore. And so I feel like it's a conscious choice, and it just came to me just because I do feel like it's hard to see all of this information about landfills, and then thinking about our children, like the future of our children, like what's going to happen with them, and just we're trying to make this world a better place, which is why we even started this, because we both are focused on like having an impact on our future and our future generations and the world. And so that's how I kind of came to like what sustainable is for me. As far as my personal style, I've always loved vintage pieces. Like they've always been very unique, and they're always different. And so I've always loved them. And so that's always been a part of me. And so I wouldn't say that my style is vintage, but I do wear a lot of vintage pieces. Like that is part of my style.
Well, how I conquered my fear was I took a 3-phased approach, and I decided that I needed to define what is the meaning of sustainability to me. And then, how do I want to, what is my why? Why do I want to practice sustainable fashion? And then set my intention to keep it going. So I said, what's the meaning of sustainability to me? How do I tap into my why for wanting to practice it? And then what is my intention to keep it going? So when I did that and I sat down and I literally took a piece of paper, and I encourage you to do this as well.
I love that. I totally love that.
Yeah, it was really helpful to me. So, you have to define sustainability for you. For what I heard you say was design for circularity is really important to you. That is your goal. I talked about, protecting oceans as a goal. If you're a Tom Ford lover, you see how I protecting oceans kick. No, is it paying fair living wages? Is it reducing what gets thrown in the landfill? Supporting community programs, not killing animals? What is it that is important to you? So you gotta identify it, write it down. And then after that, I was like, okay, find my why. And I don't know if you've ever read the book by Simon Sinek, I think is how you pronounce his last name. It's Find Your Why.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't. I mean,
Find Your Why. I
heard it quoted so many times.
Everyone to read this book before you sit down to do your little exercise here. But Find Your Why is really really important, because I think once you're able to uncover that, you will then be able to be like, oh, yeah, okay. So I'm not so fearful of this
Yeah.
whole sustainability change fashion situation. Like it makes a lot of sense to me. And so, I just wrote down, why do you want to do, did you see a documentary about fast fashion killing the environment? Or did you notice while you were looking at your bank statement, Amex always sends me this is what you spent your money on. And it's visual. It's a couple of rings and
Oh
it's like,
yeah, the pie
here's
graph.
the pie graph. Here's fashion. Look, I spent 70% of my income on fast fashion pieces, and they don't last more than 2 washes, right? So, is that your why? What is your why? So once you uncover that, gosh, you realize, God, I have a driving force behind my mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's so exciting to get to that point, because then it's like fear. I don't have any fear. I'm like, I have a why. Y'all, I have a why. And so I think that's really important when you're trying to attack sustainable fashion. And then the last one is, I don't know if anybody else is, but I'm a yogi. And I practice yoga, and I have done so for 20 years. It's a really amazing thing for me. Yes, it's physical. It has a lot of benefits physically, but I think it has a mental benefits for me. And one of the things that I really love is when I walk into a room and I stand on that mat, I love setting my intention for my practice that day. And it is something that helps me feel like I'm able to achieve whatever it is. And maybe that day I've just been really distracted and I just want to be more focused. Well, it's the same way when you're trying to approach sustainable fashion. What is your intention? Set your intention. How are you going to keep it going? How is this goal? You have your why, you know what it means to you. So set an intent. Hey, my intent is going to be, maybe take one of those challenges that we give you at the end
every week
of the intentional wardrobe movement. Maybe take that and practice it. Hey, I'm going to do that for the month.
Mm-hmm.
Or get your intention down on a piece of paper, and then you're going to feel so good when you actually accomplish it, because then you can be like, hey, look at this. I made some baby steps. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to start, a nonprofit to change the landfill situation. It doesn't even have to be that great.
Yeah.
It can be small.
But all the small steps make a huge difference. They really do.
It does.
It really does.
So it's important to do that.
I love that, because I didn't think about getting over my fear, because I guess I never had fear. But
hi, yeah, no, I guess I'm the anxiety.
But that's what I'm saying. But it's good because you had an actual 3-part plan to attack it, which I feel like makes it even better. Like, you have your why and your intention. Like, that makes it so much stronger. I love that. So that's like
good,
phenomenal.
And I really hope that you will make the time for this, because I'm going to be honest with you, it's not like, oh, I've got plenty of time in my day to sit down and plan my roadmap for how to conquer my fear for sustainability. It isn't something that's going to be at the forefront. That's why I'm saying, just make the time, put it on your calendar. It doesn't have to be today, but say, hey, you know what? I can't get to that now. I've got 3 kids going in 3 different directions. Whatever it is. Oh my gosh, I've got a work deadline. I get it. Put it at the end of the month, or start it at the beginning of the month, whenever it seems, or when the kids go to school or whatever. Make time to do this little exercise. It's almost like you're in therapy, and this is your homework. So it's sort of exciting to do that.
But thinking time is really a precious commodity. I feel like we don't get that. And so if you can actually take time to intentionally think about your why, your intention, I mean, like, that is amazing.
It's you time.
Yes, you time.
Take this, because you need that to really grow, because that's what we're trying to do here. We're all just trying to, like I said, we don't have the same idea of what is sustainable. Our meaning of that word, it's not the same. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, we're trying to do what we can to move the needle.
We're trying to do better. We're trying to make the world better. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's where you'll grow. My other fear that I had was, how do I stop the addiction of shopping cheap and plenty? Like, it really, to me, it felt like an addiction.
Yes.
It felt like I couldn't wean myself off of it. So I really questioned that. I mean, how ultimately you just made the comment that you don't buy fast fashion anymore. Your wardrobe does not consist of fast fashion. So how did you stop it?
Well, I was gonna say I still have some pieces because like unless they don't last, they're still in my wardrobe. But so I was doing some campaigns and I was purchasing things, and when I take campaigns, I only truly organically take campaigns that work with me. So I buy the things, I use the things, and they didn't last. And I mean, I use them like for real, real. Like I wear them things, I wear things. Like I have things, I wear them. Like I don't baby my bags, I don't baby my clothes, and they didn't last. And it made me so sad because I was like, this is so cute. And it didn't last. And so that's why, but also besides them not lasting, part of me curing my shopping addiction, because it is kind of an addiction.
It is an addiction, and that's one of the reasons why I threw it out here as a legitimate fear.
Yeah.
Because you step back from this once you practice sustainable fashion like we have and join the slow fashion movement, you realize, oh no, it's an addiction, and I'm having the shakes.
Yeah, no, but you actually have to go back, like you were talking about, and sit with it and think of why you're shopping. So I was shopping because it was a way for me to cope with certain feelings, like negative feelings. So bad things happening, I'm like scrolling. Like, so this is why I was shopping. Yeah. That is not a great way to deal with things.
No, and I was approaching the shopping addiction from a financial perspective. You know, ultimately, it all goes back to those economic degrees. No, I really was like, wow, $5 for a t-shirt? Y'all, let's bring them all in. I had this whole like, I had some girl math problems. Sorry, Vassar College, I'm admitting this on camera. My problem was that when it came to handbags, I would spend $10,000. When it came to a t-shirt, I was like, I'm not going to spend $200 on a t-shirt. So it was financially motivated, which is, that's a hard one to break.
No, but I understand, because I would, on the fancy things, I would spend whatever amount of money. For things I considered not as fancy, like stuff you work out in, I'm like, I'm not spending any money on that.
Right. I'm like, Target, they have plenty of workout clothes that I can get for $5, or bras. For some reason, I'm sorry, underpinnings.
Oh my gosh, so important. We have
garments, which now I have to tell you, so important. Underpinnings. So they are very important to your wardrobe. So don't be me. Don't do what I used to do. I mean, and those all fall within that category as well. You know, so this is a great example of two different addictions, but they were real. And it really, I was getting, you know, you get the high off of like, I bought 14 t-shirts for $20. Wow. Like that does not need to be driving me, right? So designed for recirculation needs to drive me. And if I can only put one t-shirt in my budget because it is $200 for the month, then that's it. And I can't buy any more. And that's really how you have to approach that.
Yes.
Anyway,
I was gonna say, I did find a solution that I've been obsessed about lately, and I texted you about it. Okay, well, so my solution that I found that just became kind of addictive is this new app called Index, INDYX. Oh, yes. And basically you catalog you index your closet, and then you shop your closet to put together outfits. I have loved it. So like you're scrolling your own closet. It's amazing.
Yeah. And that's really, you know, the ease of it. That's also something that can help you to be able to see something organized in that fashion where you see, oh gosh, I don't need another black t-shirt because I just took photographs of them and I had, 29. So there's also a lot, not only from a creative perspective to get you excited about your wardrobe, but it also is a glaring reminder when you are using Index to look at your clothing like, wow, I have overconsumed in XYZ. So Use that data, use that knowledge, and then
Right.
that will help you be able to change habits.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with it, cost per wear. And if you're not even willing to take a picture of that shirt or whatever, then is it really worth being in your closet?
Does it need to be there?
Does it need
And
to
then
be
we need to think
recycled?
one in, one out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for me, I, again, had a very formulaic approach to how I stopped my shopping addiction. And it also came in the number 3. So I don't know, maybe 3 is my number. 3 is my lucky
Three's a
number,
good
y'all.
number. Three's a good number.
3 is a good number. So I boiled it down to like 3 different ways that I could attack not shopping the way that I was before. So I said, number 1, build a foundational wardrobe, build a strong foundation, just like a house. I needed to have something to work off of. Number 2, develop your collection. And this is intentional shopping. Knowing that I have a hole in my wardrobe or a gap in my wardrobe for a white shirt this season means I then can go repurchase that. So I'm not mindlessly scrolling. I'm shopping with intent. So that's develop your collection. And the number 3 is grow for life. And I think that is add pieces that you really need, right? Like I've got a wedding coming up. I need a dress for a wedding. I have a rehearsal dinner. So I have to purchase those things. I don't necessarily have a whole bunch of, party frocks sitting in my.
You could rent.
I could rent.
You could rent.
Which is also part of the grow. You can grow without purchasing.
Yes.
It's true. But I am trying to cut my financial addiction to fast fashion. So part of that is I invest in a piece that I then know, because sustainability, my definition means that I know that I've invested in the piece and it's retained some sort of value. So then I can recirculate it and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
So it's one of the reasons why, I don't necessarily rent, but yes, renting is also a really great option. But I think this has helped my financial fast fashion addiction, because then I feel like I'm absorbing that investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have purchased as an investment and then it keeps me wearing it longer, reusing.
Yeah.
I am investing even in a t-shirt,
Yeah.
even in those leggings that I'm going to wear to cycling class. So, basically when you're building your strong foundation, number 1, edit your closet seasonally. That's approachable,
Yes.
right? Like it'll help you conquer your fear. You're looking at it every season and it's doable. That's not like, I'm not suggesting walk in your closet and pull everything out that's fast fashion. Do not do that.
That will just don't overwhelm you.
No. We just couple of pieces seasonally. It's approachable. Identify at least 3 wardrobe capsules. I know Sam does a wardrobe capsule. She creates foundational basics that she can interchange for the major pieces of her lifestyle.
For my ease, for like work from home, childcare stuff, I have like a small capsule. It's just no brainer.
Yeah, and that's really great. I do mine a little bit differently. I do mine day, night, weekend. So that's how I do mine. So I think, however, if you need one for work, if you need one for childcare, there's certainly, this is whatever will work in your wardrobe. But I think that's approachable. That should help get you over the fear.
Yeah, it just depends on your lifestyle. You do it according to your lifestyle.
Shop your closet to maximize cost per wear. Again, remember finance. Tailor and mend to keep things going. I'm going to point to Sam on this because I have that pile in the closet. Remember, we talk about taboos. I'm not great with this, and Sam is. So, give us some tips.
This comes from my shopping addiction. So I am
So this is going to help you conquer that fear. So this is great.
Basically, because I would purchase things even if they didn't fit me because of the great sale or whatever, but I would get them tailored and they would look amazing because they're basically making it for you. So if it was too small, but I knew it could be taken out, or too big and it could be taken in, it's great. So basically, if you have items that, if your body has changed one way or the other, and you have items that are of quality and are worth being tailored, then you can take it to the tailor and still get more wear out of your clothing. And if you just never did, it will look like it's like made for you and will make you feel like 100% amazing.
So see, that is getting you over that fear. I'm going to absorb that information and listen to it because it is important. I think, we all need to I'm still working on climbing up that mountain, but listening to those words have inspired me a little bit to get over the fear.
Yeah.
And to take the bag of clothing that I have identified that need, because I have changed in size. So I do need to do this. I'll let you know how that goes, everybody. But see, she's helping me get over my fear. And then, recirculate when you're ready to let go. So that's sort of like building your strong foundation. And then with developing, identify the gaps seasonally, shop with intention, adhere to the 1 in 1 out policy. If you're buying something, then you need to pull something.
Otherwise it gets overwhelming.
Yeah. And it will stop the mindless scrolling, because if that's your policy and you really like what you have in that wardrobe, and let's say you have it on index, you've cataloged everything, you're like pretty confident that you've got some good stuff in there. If you have to let go of something to buy something new, you're going to make a real decision on that. And it's not going to be at the end of your day just scrolling, sale. What can I get? What can I get?
And another thing that I have, because I will shop for new items or things that I think are cute, I want to intentionally add to my wardrobe, is I will shop on ThredUp and Poshmark. And so those are not as convenient as buying it from whatever retail. But then you have to really think about it, because you're buying something that is potentially used, even though it may be in season, or it may be new with tags, you never know. But then it's not going to get to you like the next day, and you're not going to have it. So you really have to think about it. Do I really want this? So I don't know. I think that's anytime I'm interested in something, I shop those two first.
So. That's a great tip. That's a great, okay. Now, confession time. I have never shopped ThredUp or Poshmark.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. Maybe you shouldn't.
Maybe I shouldn't, because that is where my financial addiction is going to take over. No, I've never done it. I do recirculate with ThredUp. I've never shopped those two platforms.
So yes, it's amazing, because on ThredUp, they specifically will give you measurements. So the sizing may say 4, but then the waist is like, if it's not correlating, you're like, oh, this was altered or this is not correct. So they give you all the measurements, waist, inseam.
I have a fear. I have a measurement fear. And this is maybe why I've never done this. So the measurement fear to me is very difficult, because I want to know, how are you measuring that waist? Where are you measuring the waist? Are you flat measuring? Are you measuring around my waist?
That's a good point.
I struggle with this even when I'm shopping at the Real. And I obviously am very clear about the Real, having worked at the Real for 4 years. I'm very clear about the Real sizing. But even still, sometimes I get it wrong, because I'm like, but that doesn't make how did you measure this? Did you? And then I'm upset, because now I have to send it back, and I have to put it back on a truck, and I'm creating carbon emissions and all this stuff. And I go through the stress of that as a sustainable champion. So I feel like the measurements, that's a fear. How can I get over that?
I don't know. I mean, because I was going to say, you have to check on the return policy, but then still you are having to return it. So
this is, and what I have done in the past is I'm very clear when I'm shopping resale to buy brands that I have shopped before.
Yeah.
This is how I get over it. But sometimes it doesn't work, because it doesn't always work.
Yeah, sometimes within the retail,
within the brand, it's even all over the place. But I say, oh, you know what, ALC or whatever, I buy a lot of that brand. So I know that in general, I wear XYZ. So that's how I try to get over it. But I think for something peer-to-peer too, like the Poshmark, it worries me a little that I'm going to get sizing that is all over the place. So.
Yeah, I usually just on Poshmark, because it is actually peer-to-peer, you will see sometimes they show the measurement tape, or I'll ask like, what is the waist measurement? And they'll say, I measured it flat, blah, blah, blah. So you kind of know that way. So I do ask a lot of questions.
These are good. This is okay. Gosh, I can breathe freely.
Ask
now.
A person who likes to shop.
Yes.
Online.
Yes.
I actually,
but I like your tip of try to go there first.
Yeah.
And if I can't find it, I do that with the Real. If I can find something on the Real first, and you can oftentimes find new with tags.
Yes,
new with
really
tags.
Can.
Having worked at the Real, there's so much new with tags. So, if you're scared of what if it's used, you can filter
Yes, you
things by
can.
new with
You can.
tags. And I shop that wholeheartedly. Love it. Okay, the next fear I had.
Oh.
I have so many.
Oh my gosh.
How do I manage costs? Sam, how do I manage
What do
costs
you
of
mean?
sustainability? I have read so many people are scared that sustainability is outside of their budgetary reach. Stella McCartney.
Okay, yeah. So you are talking about like actual true sustainable definition.
Yeah. Like
Yes.
let's talk about
Well,
how do I manage? How do I buy Stella McCartney? Or I mean, it's a great example of, gosh, that dress is $850. I don't have the budget. The fear of a lot of folks is it's just not practical within their financial reality.
No, it's true.
So
that is completely true. Like I do love a lot of sustainable brands, but if you're talking about like Stella McCartney, like those brands are basically like designer cost. I mean, I buy them resale. Some of them I don't, like if they're like reasonable, but like it's all resale, and usually they're less expensive. That is how I got into buying resale, is because of the pricing. I just can't afford
democratization of
Yes,
fashion,
you
y'all.
can't
And I know
afford
that's
some
the
of that.
real line, but it really, I mean, that's one of the reasons why luxury resale is such a great option.
Yeah.
Fashion File, Rebag, utilize them. I actually set a seasonal budget. I am married to a certified public accountant, y'all. So we have lots of spreadsheets in our household. But no, seasonal budget has been very helpful for me because it is clear what I can really put in my shopping budget. And if that $850 Stella McCartney dress is just not happening for the month, then that's okay. Hey, my kid had to get braces. Legitimately, my kid had to get braces. So the $850 dress, no. This is reality of life. So if you know what your budget is for shopping, then that can help you be more realistic. And hey, I just can't do it in retail. It's got to be, I'm going to comb, Poshmark and the Real and just see, if I search Stella McCartney dress and see what you get. Maybe you never know. Maybe I have a tip for you. If you don't get Stella McCartney dress in your size, because I struggle. I am not an extra small or a small. And when I'm shopping the Real, it's really hard for me because I'm like, I'm a medium or a large. There were times when I was an extra large, and there's just not a lot of product in that size. But here's my tip. Having worked at the Real, you definitely go in if you like something and heart it, put the heart in it, because then the bots will go and start sending you similar product. And it will be sustainable. Okay, so, look at that. Now they've got something. It's got to be in your size, but maybe you don't love the cut and color. But that means that you've hearted a size large Stella McCartney on the Real, and the bot will start like emailing you when product comes in.
Same with Poshmark.
Same with Poshmark. Okay, see, there you go. So these are really important ways around the system to get the things that you can fit into and you can afford in your inbox. And then obviously with that, Learn to Mend was on my list. Shopping retail sales and sample sales are also a sustainable favorite of mine. I try not to buy anything full price ever. Now, there are things you have to buy full price sometimes, like handbags that just came out for the season. I'm a handbag person. Everyone knows this. That's one of those. That's my definition of sustainability. Anyway, I will pass it on eventually. But no, there are certainly ways. I mean, I don't spend more than $600 on a dress rule. That's my rule.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, because even if it's sustainable and it's $800, if you're like, I don't spend more than $600 on a dress, you're like, well, then that's not going to be.
That's not for me.
Underwear, like you got to spend. Well,
you have to spend again. Foundational garments.
Yes.
You're right. I do buy those things full price.
Right,
it's true.
Yes,
but even still, you can wait until Girlfriend Collective has that sports bra. Girlfriend Collective, please put my sports bra back in stock. You don't have it in my size. I'm on your list, but I love them because they don't make a bazillion. They make small batches. So yeah, I mean, even still, you can wait until Kuyana is a great example of I wait until their seasonal sales, and it's
Sometimes
hard
it's
to
hard
get
because
the
they sell out.
they sell out. It's true. But I try to tell myself, okay, I'm going to just wait. It's not, and sometimes your item doesn't make it on sale at Kuyana. But anyway, see all the shopping tips from shopping tips, sustainable shopping tips from Brandy and Sam. But yeah, you can shop sales.
Yeah.
It's good. I told my mother this. My mother is not a shop sale. You talked about your background a little bit. My mom is a buy it if you want it, like buy it when you want it, and there's no need to wait. I am a wait and shop the
I always wait
sale.
for the
And
sales.
if it's gone and it's sold out, then I have to say to myself, there has been some power that does not want me to have that.
Oh, I'm always like, let's check Poshmark. Like, or the real. I'm like,
see, there you go.
Those Louboutins are gone. We gotta check somewhere else.
It's true. It's true. So there you go. And then I have my last one is, then this is my fear when I first started is, oh my gosh, how do I build a wardrobe that I'm proud of when I'm still walking around in fast fashion in my closet, because 99% of what I own is fast fashion. Like, how do you get over that fear?
I guess I don't. Gosh, that's a really good question, because I was in the same. I mean, like, I was in the same boat.
We all start here.
Yes.
So this was a huge hurdle to me at the outset. Like, oh my God, it seemed so insurmountable to me. What got you through that fear when you first began your sustainable journey? Because like we just said earlier, you cannot just pull everything out of that closet and start afresh. I mean, it's not practical. It's not sustainable in terms of your finances. You cannot just, I mean, maybe you do have an unlimited budget, but most people can't just pull everything that's fast fashion out. So, what?
I think basically as things would expire, then I would just replace it. And then I was
one in, one out.
And then I would just try to, like, as you start practicing, and so you're just like, okay, well, instead of buying from, like, I had a Forever 21 dress for years. Like, it lasted a long time. It was a little black dress. I mean, it lasted for a long time. I was surprised at that little black dress.
I have to tell you, and I just found this in my closet. I have a Target Morona 100% cashmere black cardigan with some bling on it. Now everybody's going to know when I wear it around Fort Worth.
But
honestly, I have had this sweater for 15 years.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like,
and I store it. I package it properly for the season. I'm very careful. I'm so careful with this sweater. And I think it's a really great example of, you don't have to immediately start walking around town in 100% sustainable wardrobe. No. It's okay to be like, you know what? I bought 3 pieces this season and I'm proud of them, and they're my sustainable finds.
Yeah.
And I pulled 3 fast fashion pieces out.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for making the start, for taking the baby steps.
Just taking, just your next purchase is more intentional, because I literally just got rid of a trench, which is why when we were shopping, I was looking at trenches. It was from Old Navy, and it's because I crushed, it was like over 15 years old. I crushed the sleeve detailing, and I was like, I don't think I'll be able to replace this. And so, so that's what I mean. Like, you don't, just because it's there doesn't mean poo on it, but just keep it, and if you love it, still wear it. But
yes. And actually, if you wear that fast fashion piece 30 times or more, which I would suggest means you cannot be washing it every time you wear it. Yeah. So my suggestion would be reuse it without washing it every time. But if you can get to that 30th time of wear, then that means you've just achieved sustainability.
Yeah,
because that's a sustainable act in and of itself.
Yeah.
So take your small wins.
Yeah.
And don't be scared to just start. And by the way, you say Old Navy coat. I was in my coat closet and I found a green old, I feel like I'm gonna full on post about all these amazing little pieces. This green puffer vest from Old Navy that I've had. I had it before I had my first one, and he's
Oh,
15.
wow.
And it's really hilarious. It's just so warm. You guys, it's so warm. Now, I am very careful about the wash and the wear. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to eat like a big old bowl of pasta while I have it on. I'm going to take it off. It's probably not going to last a great amount of time if I keep throwing it in
Yeah.
the washing machine, or hand washing and line drying, because that's my goal. I know. I'm washing on cold, everybody, I promise. But it really is one of those things where I'm like, you know what? I'm proud of being able to keep this thing going. And it's such a
Yeah.
beautiful color
Well,
green.
but that's the thing. I was like, if you have it, just keep wearing it until it expires. And
Yeah.
then,
Don't shame the
yes.
fast fashion that you've already bought.
Well, because it's already giving you, joy. Like you're wearing it. If you love it, like this cashmere sweater with bling
Maroon, it has bling on
sounds
it, y'all.
amazing. I mean, it sounds so great. And then this green puffer, like those sound great. So like, don't poo-poo them. Just like wear them until and thank them. When they're done with their job. Thank,
Marie
bless and release.
Kondo. Yeah,
Yes.
bless and release. Thank
Yes.
you, Marie. You have given us so much to thank our
Yes.
wardrobe for.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's hear a little bit about what our challenges for this week.
Okay. Well, this week, because sometimes with sustainable style, it can be a little bit overwhelming and fear consuming. So we have a challenge that is not too crazy for you. So this week's challenge is to take a small step when clearing out your clutter in your closet. So instead of letting it go to a landfill, keep it in circulation by donating it to either a local charity, ThreadUp, or Poshmark. And so that keeps it in circularity. And so basically you're blessing and releasing, and someone else can get joy from this piece that's no longer in your closet or your home, whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we hope that all of the things that we discussed today have helped you feel like you can make your way up that sustainable mountain a little bit easier with our help here at the Intentional Wardrobe Movement.
Okay, cheers to a conscious closet. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.